I do want to get to one of the big stories. And honestly, it's the biggest story in town. And then we'll get to the Sixers and we'll get to the Flyers. But the biggest story in town is what's happening with Jalen Hurts. And I have to tell you, I think that I'm fair to the national media and to the local media. I really do. This is not to toot my own horn and say that I'm like the be-all, end-all of, hosts doing shows on YouTube or podcasts. But, like, I try to be fair. I really do. There has been so much nonsensical back and forth between national media pundits about Jalen Hurts' concussion protocol and what it means for the Eagles. And, like, I think that we need to actually have a conversation about what Jalen Hurts actually has to do to clear concussion protocol. Because at this point, like, my head is spinning, okay? There are 5 steps to concussion protocol, okay? And we're going to get into all of them to kind of give you an idea of, like, why I found this entire thing insane, okay? I just went to go pull up a site and my computer froze, and we're not doing that. But I'll go through the 5 steps. But I want to start here because Get Up yesterday, they had an absolute meltdown about what happens if Jalen Hurts doesn't play for the Eagles this weekend against Green Bay. What if Jalen Hurts doesn't clear concussion protocol? Is it a concern that he hasn't cleared it? Are the Eagles dead if they can't get Hurts in the lineup? I want you to hear from Get Up what they had to say, and I want you to understand why I continue to just be flabbergasted by some of the mischaracterization of things by the national media. So Jeff Saturday is over on the right. Greeny, we know. Here we go. This is about Jalen Hurts and the fact that he remains in concussion protocol. Here we go.
I want to ask you the questions directly as I can. Am I living in a world where the Eagles might play this playoff game this weekend against Green Bay without Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, because until you're cleared through the concussion protocol, you're not. To your point, you can't play through it, right? It's not like, I would have played last weekend if it was a playoff game. No, he wouldn't have because he wasn't cleared. He was at their walkthrough on Saturday, which is a good sign that he's out there at practice, but he still has to get some practice work. And then once you start getting practice work, they assess you every day in terms of did you have a recurrence of symptoms? And if you did, you're back to the beginning of the protocol.
Yeah.
And now I stopped that for a second because they're about to get to Jeff Saturday. The actual nugget of truth was just there. Okay? So there are 5 steps to concussion protocol. Presumably Hurts has gotten through 3 of them. The 4th step is that you can participate in non-contact activities. The Eagles had a walkthrough over the weekend that Hurts was at, right? He obviously didn't suit up. He didn't play on Sunday. They haven't had practice on Monday or Tuesday. Practice is Wednesday, okay? So there really aren't any non-contact activities for him to participate in to clear the 4th stage and then to get the evaluation by the team doctor and an independent neurologist. So all of this, like, getting worked up. Now, look, this could age like, spoiled milk. But based on us doing this Wednesday morning around 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Jalen Hurts hasn't had the opportunity to participate in non-contact drills because after the Eagles beat the Giants with their backups, they haven't had activities he could participate in to clear concussion protocol. So all of this has been insane. And it was just outlined there. As long as he can get through non-contact drills, he can then get to step 5, which is to get cleared by the neurologist and get cleared by the team doctor, and then participate fully in practice, at which point they do then go back, and maybe that's where the problem could lie. But if he does full contact practice and drills, and there is a relapse of symptoms, a reoccurrence of symptoms, well then sure, yes, then it matters. But they literally cannot clear him until the team practices. They weren't going to clear him on Saturday at a walkthrough and then have to, maybe suit him up on Sunday. They weren't going to do that. And again, they couldn't clear him Monday or Tuesday. It all comes down to today. Now, if by Wednesday night, the conversation has changed because Hurts still isn't clear, then it's a problem. If by Thursday, they're saying, hey, he went in, he was a full participant in practice, But he had a reoccurrence of concussion symptoms, and now they're restarting the concussion protocol on Thursday or Friday. Okay, then it's a legitimate concern. But if you have lost sleep at any point over the last few days, they haven't cleared him. They cannot clear him until practice on Wednesday. Okay, now I want to go back over really quick to this clip because Jeff Saturday then. Not surprised. But Jeff Saturday kind of throws out a little bit of an exceptional, a little bit of a hyperbolic take here. But here you go. Here's Jeff Saturday.
How big a deal should I be making of this right now in my mind as I'm considering this game?
A massive deal. I mean, this is the difference between, you saying, hey, this is the best team in the NFC, and this team could be eliminated week 1 of the playoffs. It is a massive change.
I want to ask you the questions directly as I can.
So Jeff Saturday says that Hurts not playing could be the difference between being the best team in the NFC and getting bounced in the first round. It seems a little bit hyperbolic. Is it true? If Jalen Hurts doesn't play, could the Eagles theoretically lose to the Packers this weekend? Sure. Any team can lose any weekend. So he's not technically wrong. Do I think that if the Eagles had to suit up Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee, everybody loves the third string quarterback, Jeff Garcia, Jeff Blake. Nobody actually liked Jeff Blake, but I did because he was great on NFL 2K5. If the Eagles have to suit up another quarterback, it certainly hurts them, right? It will not work. The offense doesn't work the same way as when Jalen Hurts is in there. They'll be able to stack the box to try to shut down Saquon. And ultimately, if we get a snowstorm on Saturday and the field isn't in perfect condition by Sunday, and you're able to stack the box and try to shut down Saquon, and then you tell Kenny Pickett that he needs to go out and make big plays, okay, then maybe I don't feel quite as good. I'm not one of the alarmists who's kind of gone out of their way now for the last few days to say, the Eagles are screwed. The Eagles could really lose this game. The Eagles are in pole position to be the team that gets upset in the wild card round. I'm not there. I think that Green Bay is a good team, but I think that this Eagles team, even without Jalen Hurts, should be able to win. Do I love their chances if the Eagles are behind by 4 points with 2.5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter and Kenny Pickett's got to take the team 70 yards downfield for the game-winning touchdown? No. Did I maybe just manifest that happening? I may have. But again, Hurts can theoretically clear concussion protocol today. We'll know within a few hours if he clears it or not. Like I will keep an eye here on Twitter between now and the end of the show. But as of right now, I see nothing that makes me think anything different is going to happen. Now, I showed you that clip. Part of this, I keep saying fur over this whole thing. But a big reason that people got so panicked is because Schefter tweeted on Monday afternoon, Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts is still in concussion protocol. It's difficult to do. Now, there was a doctor who responded to it who said, in theory, he has 5 days to clear protocol as of Monday, right? He could have cleared it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday because they can make an exception in the playoffs to get a guy back for the next day. I just don't see a scenario where he's not he got hurt in week 16. All right? It has been multiple weeks. You hope, obviously, that it wasn't that serious of a concussion, right? It very well could be a serious concussion, just given the fact that it's been a few weeks. You'd much rather have the guy available to you and going through practices than not. I'm not in a panic mode yet, but some people are. Some people like Ford, for example, who says it's definitely a concern that Jalen has not played football, period. And says, feels like another Eagles season with a ton of promise and a kick in the nuts at the end. Not as bad as the downfall last year, but Jalen in the number 2 seed, not ideal. Dersh asks, has he spoken to the media this week? I don't believe that a player who's in concussion protocol is allowed to speak to the media. Allison asks, says, I've said it before, I only follow hockey, so forgive my question. Are the Eagles really that bad that they'll lose the game because of one player, even though that player is potentially their best player? I don't think so. I think that it certainly makes it a much closer game. I think if the Eagles are healthy, if Jalen Hurts is back in, this could be a 10-point win. It could be a 14-point win. The Eagles have a whole lot of things going their way, and they have had a lot of things going their way through a long win streak. Yes, they hit a bump in the road when Hurts got taken out. The backups were able to beat a decrepit Giants team. I don't think that it's game over for the Eagles if Hurts can't play. I think it makes it closer, and it's not ideal. But we'll see. Again, if by Wednesday night Hurts hasn't been cleared, well, then fine. We can have the conversation. And then on Friday's show, hopefully he will be cleared by then, and we can all kind of reflect on this and say, oh, okay, Russ was right. We're good. Wasn't worth getting upset about. But if Friday rolls around and he's still not cleared, then yeah, it's Ford says, what we all wanted or should have is that they get the 1 seed and could have. There's no home field advantage like Philly. None. I mean, sure. Raymond Supper says, to the Eagles fan, Tanner McKee is the shiny new toy Santa left under the tree. Kenny Pickett is the re-gifted item your uncle gave you. Listen, McKee looked very sharp against a terrible Giants team. I'm not a big Kenny Pickett believer. I think Kenny Pickett in his second game looked a lot more comfortable. I think Tanner McKee looked perfectly fine as a third quarterback against a very bad Giants team in Week 18 that had no real motivation to win the game. I don't think that either of those guys can take you to a Super Bowl. So you obviously have to hope that Hurts is going to be back. Now, here's the other thing, though. We have to be very careful here, okay? Because if Hurts is out, which, again, I don't think is going to be the case, but if Hurts is out or he gets cleared late this week, Friday, or he gets cleared Saturday, you're going to have to play him against the Packers. But, like, there kind of is a question about, like, if he's only getting cleared on Friday or Saturday, it would imply that this concussion was serious enough to keep him out for multiple weeks. And I don't want to raise the alarms here, but if you're going to bring a guy back like a day or two before the playoff game, after he clears concussion protocol, the last thing that you can afford is to have Jalen Hurts become Tua, right? Because Miami has a few times seemingly rushed back Tua from concussions or what have been perceived to be concussions or out of concussion protocol. And while he's still a very good player, Miami fans hold their breath every time he takes a hit. You don't want that with Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying that if he gets cleared on like Friday or Saturday that you say, we're going to hold him out because his long-term value and his long-term health is what's more important. But like if the Eagles did go that way, I know that the fan base would hate it, but like I wouldn't actually blame them. And again, I think that the Eagles are still good enough to win on Sunday against Green Bay without him. But boy, if he doesn't get cleared until Saturday, I don't feel great about him playing against the Packers. Because like long term, he needs to be your guy. You don't have a draft pick that's going to be like you're not in draft position going into the upcoming draft to be able to go, oh cool, like we have a pick from another team that's going to be top 5. We can draft a second quarterback just in case, Hurts goes down like 2 and like starts fencing on the field. Like we don't want that. No one wants that.